Hi, this is Dan Danford. We're doing a series of podcasts for dadsdivorce.com called Money Made Easy, where we look at questions posed by viewers or talk about current financial issues of the day. Today we have a rather lengthy question from a viewer, but I'm going to share the whole thing because I think it touches on a couple of issues. So, my fiance and I have lived together in an apartment for about a year now. She writes me a check once a month for $350, which covers half the rent and some of our smaller bills. I end up paying around $900 to cover the other half of the rent and some of our bigger bills. It's a pretty equal arrangement since I make more than twice as much as she does. By the way, we keep separate bank accounts. When we get married next summer, should we combine our accounts so all bills come from one account that we are each paying into? I'm worried that might lead to some arguments over things she spends money on, clothes, shoes, etc. I hate spending money on some of those things. Currently, it's fine because she buys what she can with her money, but if we have combined accounts, she'll be using some of my money. I feel like it's normal for a married couple to have one joint checking account, so I'm feeling pressured to give in to her. Should I? That's a terrific question. We hear stuff like this all the time. First thing I'm going to tell you is throw the whole concept of normal out the window. There is no normal. Every relationship is different. Money is always an issue in relationships, and you have to do what works best for the two of you. My own wife and I do share a single checking account, but we carry separate checkbooks. And in 30 years of marriage, I don't think I've ever looked through her check register to see how she spent money. She does look through my check register because she is the one that reconciles the bank account at the end of the month. But it's not an issue for us. This works really well for us. But that's what works in our situation. I know a number of other situations and relationships where people do keep separate checking accounts, and that works well for them. So all I'm going to say is if you're already sharing a household and you're already sharing some expenses, then you ought to have a good idea of what works best for the two of you. And that's what you ought to do in the future. You shouldn't worry about what you think is right or what you don't. Now, the mechanics of spending are pretty simple. Things like, reconciling the checkbook and making sure that deposits are made on time and that you don't overdraw the check account and your budgeting type considerations, those are all mechanical. Those are easy things to take care of. All it requires is one person to record things and the other person to make sure that it's spent right. Where you get in trouble is when you go to write a check for something and you don't know that somebody else has already written a check, and then you overdraw the account and it's embarrassing and all those kinds of things. But truthfully, those aren't the big issues. Okay? Those things can be taken care of. In most cases where I see problems with couples and money, money is just a symptom of a bigger problem. And the bigger problems deal with trust. Bottom line here is you both need to be able to trust that the other one has the best interest of the relationship in mind. And if you don't trust each other, then the money issues will become a problem. So having said all that, here are a couple of things that I note and I work with when I talk to people. Most relationships, one person cares more about watching the money than the other. That's typical. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Generally it works pretty well, but the one caution I would say is even though one person may pay closer attention, both people need to know what's going on. So even if one person typically reconciles the checkbook or looks at the investment accounts or whatever that is, at least occasionally the other spouse should come in and sit down and go over those things too. There shouldn't be secrets, and it should be easy for both persons to know where they are at any point in time. The second thing I'll say is that it makes sense that both people in the relationship confer on big purchases. If you're getting ready to buy a new car or buy new furniture, or you're going to spend money for some major extravagance, a vacation or something like that, then that seems to me to be something that the relationship ought to sit down and discuss together. On the other hand, don't sweat the small stuff, okay? If she goes and buys a pair of shoes, or if he goes and buys a new golf club, Or maybe he spends a Saturday playing golf with his buddies and it costs $100. Everybody wants some freedom in their relationships. It doesn't make any difference who you are or how much money you have. Everybody wants to have the freedom to be able to spend some money occasionally in the way they want to spend the money. Work together on the big stuff, but just decide that there are certain things you aren't going to worry about. Maybe you put a $100, a $200, a $300 spending limit, and we just say, hey, look, if you're going to spend less than $100 on one item, I don't need to know about it. Whatever that number is for you and your family, you need to allow that freedom so that both people feel comfortable with how money is being spent in their relationship. The last thing I'll tell you, and I recommend this to all couples, and I recommend it to individuals as well, and that's what I call a family statement of net worth. This is really simple to accomplish. A lot of people get bogged down in the numbers, but it really is easy. On a piece of paper, on the top half of the piece of paper, write down everything you own. You know, your house, your cars, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs. Just list all those things and the current market value of each one. Okay? Then draw a line across the paper, and at the bottom of the page, write down all the people you owe money to. The mortgage against your house, the payments on your car, any other loans that you have, credit cards and that kind of thing. And then add that list up as well. And when you compare the loans to what you own, the difference is your family net worth. Okay? There's two reasons to do this. Number one is maybe 3 or 4 times a year you do this exercise and you can see whether you're moving forward or backward. If you go spend $1,000 on a new big screen TV, okay, doesn't take long to realize that a brand new $1,000 TV is only worth a few $100s if you had to sell it tomorrow. Your net worth went down by $800 for that decision. Now, the reason why this exercise is so good for families is because it helps you identify good, wise purchasing decisions and ones that aren't. So when we roll the clock back, we go back up to what I said earlier and say, confer on major purchases. If you're using a statement of net worth, when you confer on major purchases, you'll know what the impact is on your family finances. Okay, so those are my 3 things. Number one is, if you have one person who's focused on money, let them be focused on money. Just keep the other person informed. Number 2, confer on major purchases, but let the little things go. It's easier for both if everybody feels like they've got some freedom in the financial aspects of the relationship. And the third thing I'm going to say is create and maintain a family statement of net worth. If you'll do those 3 things, then it doesn't really matter whether you have separate checkbooks or a combined joint savings account or whatever. As long as you do those 3 things, you'll both be working together to make your financial relationship a stable one. Until next time, I'll see you. I'm Dan Danford. That's Money Made Easy for this week. Thanks.